Hello YouTube, welcome to another War Thunder video. Today I'll be talking about what premiums you should buy. Today I'll be specifically talking about jets, rank 7 and 6 jets. So first I want to talk about what makes a good plane. When it comes to these high tier premium jets, or any high tier jet, what makes the plane good is very good missiles, and then countermeasures, and then good radar, then the aircraft performance. Now obviously when it comes to Fox 1 missiles, having a good radar obviously means that the missile is going to be better. So in certain cases a good missile paired with a bad radar is obviously not ideal. So I'm going to be talking from my experience when it comes to these aircraft. I have most tech trees unlocked with top tiers in them, for except Israel and Japan. But I do have the normal Phantom, so I can still talk about the premium Phantom in the Japanese tech tree, and I do have the Kefir C2, so I can talk about the Kefir Canard in the Israeli tech tree. Before we start, I'd like to say, these are 60 and 70 euro aircraft, so I recommend buying them on a sale, not at full price. Let's start with the American rank 6 premiums. First off with the AV-8A. I do not actually have this plane, but I do own the AV-8C, which is very similar. The notable differences between the two aircraft are its countermeasures. The AV-8C, which is the tech tree version, has 60 countermeasures, while the premium AV-8A has 240 countermeasures. The AV-8s are in a very good spot. They have a very good power to weight ratio as they are VTOL aircraft. Their missiles are very good for the BR and have a range of around 4 kilometers, which is quite a lot for a Fox 2 missile. The missile that they carry is the AIM-9G, which has a very big bore sight which you can use to your advantage when leading a missile. Unfortunately at 9.7 you do get up to it quite a lot to 10.3 and 10.7, although it isn't that big of a problem as your aircraft has countermeasures and good missiles, so it doesn't really matter. A down tier below 9.7 is just a very nice bonus to have, as you can basically overpower almost every aircraft at the BR. As it is a rank 6 premium, not a rank 7, you can only research up till rank 7, not rank 8, so you will not be able to research the F-14 and both F-16s with this thing, but I don't see that much as a problem as America has very good rank 7s, and I would use it as an opportunity to grind out the tech tree vehicles. I think the AV-8 is a good pick for grinding the American tech tree. Now for the A-10. The A-10 is a very hot topic issue in War Thunder right now, as it is at 10.0 while being equipped with the best Fox 2 in the game. The best Fox 2 in the game being the AIM-9L. The plane also has 480 countermeasures, which makes it invulnerable to any missiles coming towards it. It has a big bomb load and is very strong. It has a very good gun, the GAU-8, but it's a very slow plane, so it's very vulnerable to normal guns. I wouldn't really recommend the A-10 just because it's that slow, and it makes games slower, so you can research less efficiently. But the two AIM-9Ls basically gives you 2 guaranteed kills if you know which planes do and do not have countermeasures. Overall, I think this pick is okay to grind the American tech tree. So let's talk about the F-5C. The F-5C is an extremely good aircraft. I've played with it on my friend's account, and every game I could get 3 to 4 kills easily. The missiles aren't that strong as they are AIM-9Es, so you can't really rely on them to get kills. The plane itself is a bit slow for a fighter, but as there are Su-25s in that BR area, you can go pick them off. It's a very nimble fighter, and the guns are pretty okay, but you do need some shots to actually kill a target. Overall, the F-5C in my opinion is the best rank 6 premium you can buy, and I'd give it as a really good pick to grind the American tech tree. The A6C Tram is the only rank 7 premium available to the American tech tree. This thing is a very mixed bag because on one hand it doesn't have an internal gun, but it can carry a gun pod and 4 AIM-9Ls. Although you have to sacrifice 1 pylon for the gun, so effectively you'll have 1 gun pod and 3 AIM-9Ls. This has 60 countermeasures and it's not that fast. The gun isn't that great either, as it is a Colt, so I wouldn't really recommend this to grind the American tech tree. So off to Germany. The MiG-21 SPSK is pretty good for the BR. It does have 2 R-60 missiles and countermeasures, but you cannot equip the countermeasures when you are using the gun, so you have to either decide if you want to use the gun or take the countermeasures. I personally would use this as a missile slinger and fire off my 2 R-60s and go immediately back to base. Remember, this thing is rank 6, so you cannot grind up until rank 8 with its full premium bonuses, but I think this is a good pick if you want to grind out the German tech tree. The MiG-21 bis Lazur M is basically just the Tech Tree MiG-21 bis SAU, but instead it doesn't have the SAU pod, it just has the normal countermeasures. It's a very good aircraft like any other MiG-21 bis in the game, so if you do want a rank 7 premium to grind out all of the German Tech Tree, this would be a very good plane to do that. It has good flight performance, it has good missiles, the gun is a bit lacking, so is the radar, but overall this plane is very good. Russia has 3 rank 6 premiums, so let's start with the first one. The Su-7 BMK is nothing really special, it's pretty slow for the BR it's at, the bomb load is fine, it's okay for ground RB but I really wouldn't recommend buying it. It's just a really below average aircraft and it wouldn't be good for grinding. It is at 9.3 though, so you can kind of count to get down tier to 8.7 or 8.3, where planes are much slower than you are, but because there are so many premiums at higher BRs, you will always be dragged to up tiers, so I wouldn't recommend grinding Russia with the Su-7 BMK. The MiG-21S is another rank 6 premium. It sits at 9.7 and has pretty bad missiles. It has R3Ss and R3Rs, which are basically the same missiles, but the R3R is a Fox 1 version of the Fox 2 R3S. The flight performance is pretty okay, but I wouldn't really use this plane, as it does have a weak engine, just like the MiG-21 SPSK, so I wouldn't really recommend buying this plane to grind out the Russian air tech tree. The Su-25K, just like the A-10, is a very hot topic issue right now. It has the second best Fox 2 in the game, which is the R60M. It's an all-aspect version of the normal R60, which is found on most Russian aircraft. The Su-25K has a crazy damage model, it can tank so many shots. It has 250 countermeasures and carries a very good bomb load. The Su-25, in my opinion, is the best rank 6 plane you can use to grind out the Russian tech tree. The MiG-23ML is the only rank 7 plane you can buy to grind out the Russian tech tree. It is a very good plane. It's basically just a MiG-23MLD. It carries one of the best Fox 1 missiles in the game and one of the best Fox 2 missiles in the game, which are the same ones as on the Su-25. It's an extremely fast plane and is very good at raid fighting, as it has the variable wing sweep. So in my opinion, the MiG-23ML is a really good pick to grind out the Russian air tech tree. So let's move to Great Britain. The Hero GR1 is a pretty average rank 6 plane. I wouldn't really recommend it because it doesn't have any countermeasures in a BR where everyone has very good missiles. The missiles that the Harrier carries are very special because they are SRAMs. The SRAMs use thrust vectoring to get to their target, which makes them very maneuverable, although you cannot fire them at low speeds as they do not have enough speed to actually balance themselves. Also, the SRAMs, because they are thrust vectoring, they only have a range of 2 kilometers, which in game while you're fighting translates to around 1.3 kilometer range, which is extremely short. This plane does not have countermeasures, is the only Harrier in game with no countermeasures, but I do have a trick. I put the thrust vectoring to full 100%, so the nozzles are facing down, and I turn off the engine, and usually the missiles do lose lock. But this is obviously not a very good alternative to countermeasures, as people will find you slow and will just shoot you out of the sky with their guns. The British premium F4J is a very average Phantom. It doesn't retain the Fox 1s that the American Phantom has, so it doesn't have the very good AIM-7Fs. So the F4J in the British premium tech tree really acts like a slightly better FGR2. The main differences between the F4J in the British tree and the normal FGR2 are the engines. The tech tree versions of the Phantom and the British tree are the SPA engines, which have better performance at low altitude while having worse performance at high altitude, and the F4J in the British tree obviously has better performance at high altitude and worse performance at low altitude. So technically the F4J is slightly better than the tech tree Phantoms, but the differences is so small that it doesn't really matter. Overall, it's a good pick to grind out the British tree. For Japan, we have the T2 Early as the rank 6 aircraft. Its missiles are the AIM-9E, which are not that good of missiles. It has no countermeasures at 9.7, and overall is not that good of a plane. It has an okay bomb load if you wanna go bomb, but it's not that fast, so I wouldn't really recommend this as a premium to grind out the Japanese tech tree. Now for the rank 7 Japanese premium, the F4EJ ADTW is basically the same thing as the normal F4EJ Phantom 2 in the tech tree, which that in itself is basically just an F4E from the American tech tree. So it's an okay plane. It's not really that good or that bad. It's just a really average plane at top tier. It has okay missiles. It's just really average. The Fox ones it carries are the AIM-7Es, not the AIM-7E2s, so they're not as maneuverable as the others. And it carries AIM-9Ps, which are basically AIM-9Js, which are alright missiles. So again, it's a very okay aircraft. So if you already have the F4E on the American tech tree, the F4EJ ADTW will basically play in the same way as the F4E. The Chinese A5C Rank 6 Premium is very good. It carries a very respectable bomb load and rocket load. It has two magics which are very good for the BR. It has countermeasures as well, albeit not a lot of countermeasures. But the A5C's airframe is based on the MiG-19, so it is almost as maneuverable as a MiG-19. It is 25% heavier because it is a ground attacker technically, so you won't be as maneuverable as a MiG-19, but it can still energy trap quite a lot of aircraft. So yes, the A5C is a really good plane to grind out China. The Chinese Rank 7 J7D is basically an equivalent to the MiG-21MF in the German tech tree, but the J7D has better armament. It can carry PL-7s and PL-5Bs. PL-5Bs have an extremely long range, and I love these missiles, they are amazing. And the PL-7s are magic ones. This aircraft can carry a mix of both of them, so it can have long and short range capabilities with both missiles. Overall, this aircraft, in my opinion, is a really good pick to grind out the Chinese tech tree. The Ariete is the only rank 6 premium aircraft that Italy has. Honestly, it's very good, but the place it's at is very bad. I wouldn't recommend this plane. The only thing it has going for it is basically its guns, but it has no countermeasures, no missiles at 9.3. It's basically a Sagittario 2, but with an extra engine. So it makes it a bit less maneuverable at lower speed, but it accelerates much faster. Overall, I wouldn't really buy this plane, just because of the BR. So I wouldn't recommend buying this plane. The F-104 STAF is identical to the normal F-104S in the Italian tech tree. It's in an okay place right now. It can see Tomcats and MiG-29s, and the whole thing about this aircraft is staying fast. You can't really do that when there's a bunch of Phoenixes flying at you. This plane is obviously very unmaneuverable because it is an F-104, and the only thing it has really going for it is its speed. It has countermeasures and 6 AIM-9Js, so it's not all bad, and it's extremely fast. So in my opinion, it is an okay pick to grind out the Italian tech tree, but it's between okay and not really recommended. The Milan is the only rank 6 premium that France has to offer. Unfortunately, this is the worst rank 6 premium you can buy compared to BR. All it has going for it is speed. I bought this plane when it was 50% off, and it's so bad I regret buying it even then. As I said, it's fast, but it has very bad missiles. It only has 2 AIM-9Bs, an okay bomb load, and nothing else going for it. It doesn't even have countermeasures, so I do not recommend buying the Milan. Just don't buy it, don't even consider it. The Mirage F1 C200 is also in the same place. It's basically a carbon copy of the Tech 1, but it has an aerial refueling probe. It's just a really bad plane. It's in a very bad BR, it literally can see top tier MiG-29s and everything, and the plane itself is 10.7 material or 11.0 material. It's not a good plane, I wouldn't buy it, I don't recommend it, but it's better than the Milan, so I'd rather get the Mirage F1 C200 than the Milan. The J35A in Sweden is pretty alright. It has very bad missiles and no countermeasures, but the actual plane performance itself is really good. So if you position yourself really well, you can do well with it, but the guns do not have any tracers, so if you're bad with the guns, there isn't really anything to help you aim. So I really wouldn't recommend buying this as the missiles aren't that good. It has no countermeasures. For 9.7, it's not that good. It's basically just a better version of the Milan because it's more maneuverable, almost as fast, but I still really wouldn't recommend buying this just in general, so just skip this. The Saab 35FS is basically a J35D, but with countermeasures and 2 more missiles, but it does have 1 less gun. In my opinion, 1 less gun for 18 countermeasures is very worth it, and it also has 2 more AIM-9Js, which are pretty good. And yeah, it's just a good plane to grind out Sweden. It's not very good, but it's good. The premium A4E in the Israeli tree is pretty good for 8.7. It has countermeasures and AIM-9Bs. Obviously, you can't really expect the best missiles from 8.7, but overall this plane can be very good. For the BR, it has a very respectable bomb load, and obviously you will be using this as more of a bomber than a fighter, because obviously it has the airframe of an attacker, not of a fighter. It's not that fast either. I would not really buy it if it was me, but it's a good choice if you want to kind of stick to a budget and also use this for ground RB. It's a solid good choice. Now the Kfir Canard is basically the Kfir C1, so it's obviously worse than the C2 and the C7, but it's very similar to the C2. It has a respectable bomb load, and this aircraft is extremely quick. It takes some time to accelerate, but once it gets up to speed it's basically untouchable. You can use it as a very good boom and zoomer, and if you really do need to get into a dogfight, it is very maneuverable, but because of the delta wing design it does lose a lot of speed quickly, so I wouldn't really recommend dogfighting with it. The AIM-9Gs it carries are pretty good, and I recommend using the aircraft's high speed with the range of the missile, and you can get around 5.5 kilometer snipes with the missiles, which is very good. You can basically just fire them and forget about them, and people won't really notice that there's a missile. So yeah, overall I would give it between really good to good pick. So yeah, I recommend picking the Kfir Canard up if you want to grind out Israel. So of course there is a caveat to this video. Any of these planes I mentioned can be used well if you're good enough, but I made this video in the point of view of a pilot who doesn't really know how to use jets, and basically I rated the aircraft which are beginner friendly and easy to use and easy to get kills. So thank you guys for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it. Please consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next one.